All right, so the first thing that we're gonna be doing is just watering all the vegetation down on the front of the house. As you can see, I basically just hooked up a garden hose and I'm going around basically getting everything wet, making sure that the first thing that touches these plants for today is just water. I'm literally just doing the oldest trick ever, just putting my thumb over top of it. Don't need anything fancy. You're just getting them wet so that the first thing that they get is now some sort of detergent. The other thing that this does is it allows my garden hose to get completely flushed out. Let's make up something and say that the homeowner hasn't used this garden hose in 6 months, maybe even a year or so. There could be all kinds of bugs, debris, all kinds of crap that's just built up in it. By flushing it out like this, you basically just increase the filtration capacity of your machine because you're flushing out that hose before anything actually touches it and basically getting it ready for a day's worth of use. So that is step one. We can go ahead and shut it down. Call our hose rinsed, we'll pull over our machine and fire her up. All right, so like I said before, our primary ingredients are going to be big green Bruce and sodium hypochlorite. On the front of this house, we need a little bit stronger of a mix for the brick. Even though it's not that dirty, there are some inconsistencies with it. So what we're going to do, throw a couple splashes of that in there, and then for the back of the house, apparently I need about half as much. That was not an exact measurement, but if I had to guess, I would say I'm somewhere in the 8 to 10 ounces for this, and on this side I'm closer to the 4 to 6 ounces. It's a good mix, it'll give me a decent amount of sud. It'll also serve its purpose as we're working around the building. So back of the house, front of the house, we're just going to shake up the buckets and go ahead and plug everything in. So real quick, we're going to do a little mini topic on downstream injection versus upstream injection. One of the questions a lot of guys like to ask is, how are you applying soap? Well, the most common way of applying soap in the industry is a downstream injector. On this side, we're using a 2.1 fixed draw downstream injector. In theory, this size with this machine should give us roughly a 10-to-1 mix on the surface. This is called downstream because it is downstream of the high pressure pump. You have our high pressure pump, you have all the fittings, and then after that, we have our quick disconnect that ends the high pressure pump and would start our hose. Downstream injection goes anywhere after the unloader all the way to the gun. So whether it's an X-Jet, an M-Jet, M5 twist with a downstream injector with a Jrod, downstream injector with just a low pressure tip, all of that is downstream injection. The only time upstream injection comes into play is when you're inserting a soapy solution before the pump head itself. This usually comes into play when you're pulling off of a tank. It's very popular on the Quadro series made by Kronzla. It's very popular on older, larger hot water skids where they have their own built-in not only soap reservoir, but also built-in, what do you want to call that? Basically float tank for when there's not enough water coming out of the spigot and you need basically that built-in reservoir. High pressure soap, it's very handy for doing things inside of an industrial atmosphere when you're doing something like cleaning a commercial kitchen. Downstream injection, it is a much more effective way of applying soap in my opinion, but more importantly, the soap never actually enters your high pressure pump, leaving you all kinds of reasons to say why it is a better soap injection method versus the upstream injection. So again, for house washing, most of the time we're talking about downstream injection. All right, so what we have, again, our 4-gallon minute machine, downstream injector, 100-foot of high pressure hose plugged into our house wash mix. We're gonna soap everything up, starting with our concrete sidewalk going all the way around. Give that the most dwell time, that's why we're starting with that. Then we'll start at the foundation, go up to the top, and then hit the gutter line. And we'll see how far we get. All right, so what we just did is on our Jrod, we switched from a low pressure tip to a high pressure tip. The reason we did that is under low pressure, I'm going to draw soap almost the entire time. But what I wanted to do was switch to high pressure. You saw me spraying it against the brick wall. I was basically letting all the soap run out of our 100-foot line. Now we have just fresh water and no suds anywhere, which means I'm not drawing anything. What we're gonna do is hit all the glass, and then we're gonna hit the wood, trim work on our door itself. Remember I said we're gonna take some time, basically make it delicate right there? That's what we're gonna do real quick and just make it so that, again, chemical isn't the first thing that's touching this and that it's gonna be water. All right, so basically what we did was we took our soap, we laid it all over our sidewalk. In a second, we're gonna walk around and see how that's doing, just treating, again, all the organic growth on the sidewalk and that lower stairwell. The next thing we did was we switched over to a high pressure tip so we could rinse out our 100-foot high pressure hose, restricting us from drawing soap and basically letting us put fresh water on the surface. After we got to that point, we wet down our glass, basically our windows, and then we spent some extra attention on the trim work, hitting that with water, so that as we followed up, switching back to that low pressure tip, allowing us to draw soap as we followed up with a soap solution. Basically, it wasn't too chemically strong for the wood trim, everything is decorative all around the front of the house. If we focus a little bit on the gutter line, you can see what was there originally, all those black dots, all the algae that was growing, all of the runoff from the top of the roof. It basically has gone away with our mix, because our mix was, even though it's a very mild setup, it's a very effective setup and solution. If we look at our sidewalk, basically our sodium hypochlorite is starting to work. There wasn't a whole lot of carbon buildup, there wasn't a whole lot of grease on here. So the only thing that's really mattering right now is the fact that we got that organic solution on the surface. It's cleaning everything up. We're gonna hit our stairwell a couple more times just because that was real bad back there. We'll maybe hit this one more time before we move on. This is gonna be one of the last surfaces that we touch up with our surface cleaner when we're done. We wanna get the solution onto the surface and let it sit for as long as possible, giving it the longest dwell time. So we're gonna go ahead and fire it back up. This has been sitting for approximately 2 minutes. The first thing I'm gonna do is hit the glass, I'm gonna hit the wood, then I'm gonna hit the plastic around the stairwell right there, and I'll give everything a good low pressure rinse.